Hello everyone, Russell Wright, themezoom.com, and I want to warmly welcome you to the Krakken Release the Beast new webinar series that will be probably continue to do over the upcoming weeks, and as long as Sue Bell is available, which is not always. She is available for the next couple of weeks. Her calendar seems to be getting, much to my dismay, rather full for projects and stuff. So we decided while she still had some openings that we would really dive into Krakken out of popular demand. There's been a lot of questions. And on top of that, you stay through the entire webinar. We are going to have a ridiculous price point that she has decided to offer for the next, I'm not sure how long the offer is out there, but
it's for the month.
It's for the month. So
the month of October.
The month of October. So we'll put a blog post out and then probably remove it past a certain point. But I want you to be aware that that is available to people on this webinar and for a private blog area. So with no further ado, we're just going to jump right in. We will have a open question and answer line, which I am actually manning the FAQs today because she's going to be too busy revealing our top secret proprietary knowledge, which we really haven't done or even talked about since, I'd say, what, Sue, 2010 maybe was the last time?
Yeah, that's about the last time. Yeah. I'm excited.
So, yeah, this is definitely her beast. I mean, she built this. I helped co-invent a lot of the concepts and themes in 1.0, but Sue really took it to the next level with this, and Kelly Reynolds, who's our Google-level developer that helped us build this. And we're going to be showing you some stuff that in the past I've kind of been non-transparent about. But we're moving into an area where we're starting to bring all of this together. Domain Web, Sue has evil plans. Domain Web Studio, Krakken, it's all turning into one, beast. So we wanted to make sure that you were prepared for that and give you this insight. So with no further ado, I'll step out of the way. If you have any questions, go ahead and chat them up, and we're here for you.
Thanks, Russell.
Sure.
All right. So, yeah, I have to admit that Krakken is my baby as far as what I use to analyze a market. I've tried over the course of the last 6 months to use pretty much every other tool on the market, and when on those rare occasions when Krakken's down, I just cry. We had a whole bunch of issues. We've gone through a bunch of growing pains over the course of the last 12 months, and we've had to pretty much rewrite the entire guts of how both Krakken and TLKT work. At the moment, we're in the process of completely upgrading the guts of TLKT to the latest libraries, and we'll talk more about that next week. We're going to do a TLKT webinar next week, and as soon as we're done with TLKT, we'll come back and do Krakken. But because Krakken is so much bigger, it's so much more advanced, it goes into so many other avenues, it's a much more complicated upgrade. So just, in going through all the algorithms with Kelly over the course of the last month, and to a lesser extent over the course of the last year, it's really made me aware of how much we never bothered to slow down and tell everybody about what was going on. So I want to take 2 or 3 webinars. This one's going to be kind of cursory, the basics, the foundation ideas behind Krakken, and then over the course of the next couple of webinars, we'll get more into the depths and details. So let's start with a little bit of history. ThemeZoom and Krakken were both born out of a pain. Back in 2006, Russell came into my office. He had a huge client he was working for, and he was trying to get all of these different data pieces to kind of mesh together. And the problem with trying to get different keyword tools to mesh together is the fact that they don't have parallel data. In other words, when you're looking at one keyword tool, the data from one keyword tool isn't like the data from another keyword tool. And so his having given me this problem, we literally sat down and tore the entire internet apart trying to figure out what the relationships were between these different pieces of data. And to that end, dang, I skipped a whole load of Oh, my browser's just doing weird things. So, so to that end, we sat down and, wow. It's like my whole presentation's just gone away on me. All right, so we sat down and we looked at all of these different pieces of data, all of the different reasons why different data companies or different keyword tools were giving back different pieces of data. And there's, let me just go into that a little bit. There's an idea of phrase match and broad match and exact match. If you guys are familiar with pay-per-click or you've dug into the keyword tools inside of Google Analytics very much, you're kind of aware of what's going on there. And different keyword tools will give you different pieces of data. These days, 6 years later, it's a lot more, there's a lot more ubiquity. Things are a lot better explained than they were back then. But the other thing that happens is every keyword tool wants to have their own sort of corner on the market. And so they'll take the raw data and obfuscate it sometimes, or they'll come up with their own algorithms. And on top of that, they'll they oftentimes use databases that have got, they're in different stages of historical diversity, to put it nicely. But there were only a few that when we started, we were the only keyword tool that actually pulled fresh data. And to a large extent, today you got guys like Market Samurai who have a database, and when it's available, they pull fresh data. And when it's not available, they pull the data out of the database. And you're never really sure whether you're looking at historical data or at fresh data. So as we pulled all of these data bits together, kind of like this entity relationship diagram that you see on the screen here, when we tried to make sense out of it, the thing that we kept coming back to is, how do we make meaning out of all of this data, right? Like,
Right.
how do we take all of this stuff and actually give useful information so that you can actually understand your market, first of all, and then create a website that's going to make sense to the people that you're trying to connect with. And so, to that end, we designed a vertical market analysis tool. Now, we went through a lot of growing pains to get to Krakken. We went through 3 distinct versions of ThemeZim for those guys who were with us in the early days. And where we finally arrived at was pulling all of this data together and looking at it from a thematic perspective. So in other words, we came up with this idea of clusters and themes. And a cluster is simply a collection of themes. And you can collect those themes however you want to. The most advantageous thing that you can do is keep all of those themes within one market. But you might decide that you want to keep all those themes actually down to a market segment. And as you go through our documentation, the first phase of actually doing Krakken research, it tells you basically just drill into everything. Don't worry about how tangent it is to your market. If it looks interesting, drill into it. And then when you get done with that, you can look at the theme overview screen and start to make sense out of that. So then as you drill into something, we give you a screen like this with the idea that this helps you understand your market a little bit. So at this point, we're looking actually at data delivery service. And across the top, wow. You know, I hate it when a presentation works fine in the preview, and then when you actually get down to it, it doesn't work at all. So up here across the top, you've got the actual market level of this keyword. And as you can see, diet delivery service is actually a niche. And this is based on competing pages, because competing pages tells the story about how big the conversation is in the internet. And so when you've got a whole bunch of competing pages, when you're up in the hundreds of millions and billions of competing pages, you're at a market level. And when you're down in the tens of thousands, you're down around the phrase level. And so these are having looked at all of the different various types of keywords, we've come up with these assignments that give you an idea of where, from phrase to market, your particular theme that you're looking at falls into. So then, in addition to that, we look at at some of the most interesting keywords within your theme. Yeah, I'll get into a little bit later about how we actually decide what interesting is. But these keywords that are in the bubble graph, they're the things that are most relevant to your theme, that are either a market level, they're a vertical market. We'll show you your vertical markets up here. We'll show you the things that are immediately above. So in other words, if this is at a niche level, these things are going to be at a theme level, and these keywords are going to be above a theme level. They're going to be someplace between a market segment and a market level. And that idea is so that you can see the hierarchy of your keyword within this vertical market. So obviously diet delivery service is going to be in the diets and the diet industry and in the healthy diet industry. Now also, as you read from left to right, you've got, this goes in order of competing pages. So dieting actually has more competing pages than diet, which has more competing pages than services. So those are the, and I find it interesting because it does bring back services as well as the idea of diet. So all of those things are kind of the verticals of the diet delivery service theme. And then between these verticals, immediately above the diet delivery service, are diet plans, weight loss diets, and diet programs. So if you were actually targeting any one of these particular things in your website, if that was a main theme in your website, then you might want to look at diet delivery services as a theme within that site. Conversely, if you're looking at diet delivery services as being the theme that you're actually wanting to target, then you might want to drill into diet plans, weight loss diet, or diet programs to see what kind of tangent ideas there are there that relate to your diet delivery services. So again, all of these things are here because they've got, they're highly related to your theme. They've got, compared to your primary keyword, they've got a relatively important cost and or traffic. So just trying to think if there was anything else. Oh, and the competing pages. Those are the things that I'll relate to this particular diagram. So when you're looking at this, it gives you a quick and dirty overview. The last thing I should talk about probably are these down here, because these are the major market segments of this particular theme. Now I know we've got market segment as an actual category up there, and I don't want to confuse you, but they're actually segments of this concept. And they're segments because they're highly related and they're small enough that they're all going to fit into or make up the idea of diet delivery service. Doesn't mean that there aren't more segments, but these are some of the most important segments. So, so with that in mind, you can look at this image and get an immediate idea or an overview of the important ideas that are going on in this theme. And from this image, you can even actually drill into any of those keywords. You can just click on it and it'll do an automatic drill. So that's part of the overview. And the other part of the overview are these concepts up here, the TSMV, the organic market value, the organic rank, and the pay-per-click market value. And hopefully this isn't going to skip over my definitions. So the total search market value. Let's talk about that for a minute. TSMV, we throw that keyword around a lot, or that term around a lot when we're talking about Krakken. And what this represents is the value of owning all of the search traffic for that particular keyword, both the organic and the paid. And so when we're looking at those total values up there at the top, we're looking at all of the important keywords, not just the bubble graph, but everything that's in the chart underneath it. We're looking at the value for both organic and paid for those keywords. It estimates across all of the search engines. It's not just Google, but we also estimate Yahoo and Bing. We combine all those values, and we combine the values for all the organic rank positions as well as the #1 paid position. So we're essentially trying to look at all of the traffic that you could throw at that keyword, basically all of the search traffic, all of the paid traffic, and measure it in the dollars per year and total all that up and give you a value, a total value for that keyword. Organic rank or organic market value is similar, except obviously it's only going to be the organic value, right? So we don't include the pay-per-click value in this. So it's the entire organic search market value. It's a combination of all of the positions for any keyword across all of the search engines, and it's measured in dollars per year. Organic rank value is similar, and it's going to depend on, again, there's certain roll-up places and there's individual keyword places, but the organic rank value is the estimated value of the #1 position on Google, Yahoo, and Bing. It's just the #1 position. And it's a representation of if you could pay for that #1 slot, how much you would have to pay to be able to get that traffic. Obviously there's, well, generally speaking, not always, but there's more traffic to the organic spot than there is to the pay-per-click spot. So, so it's interesting to kind of put those values side by side with the pay-per-click value. This term is also measured in dollars per year. Now the pay-per-click market value, which is the other side of that, represents the total spend. So it's estimated using phrase match and targeting the #1 position that's usually there up above the SERPs, and it's also measured in dollars per year. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. We're going to just dive right into actually taking a look at the tool. Are there any questions up to this point?
Sue, I don't see anybody typing in any questions at this point.
Okay. Wayne's asking if...
Why am I not seeing those? Because if there are questions, I have none.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that means you're stuck. Oh, hang on a second. Organize. Oh, I don't have it set properly, of course.
Okay.
Because I'm a genius. Hang on a second. Good thing I didn't write this thing by myself. Let me see. So I would be sending questions to organizers, presenters. Yeah, I don't think I have a setting where I can see everybody's questions. So why don't you hit that one?
If you look up under View, is there a questions thing that you can toggle?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. Why don't you just grab it? I'll try to figure this out while you're grabbing it.
All right. So, so Wayne says, can you actually graph out a vertical market analysis like this? And unfortunately, since I wasn't looking at the questions, I'm not sure. Were you talking about this, Wayne? Okay. This is something that Krakken actually does. It's not like you can go down and pick out the keywords that you want it to have graph out. Krakken's got a set of a predefined set of criteria that a keyword has to fit in, and then it graphs it out for you. So so obviously in this one where we're looking at diet, it's the top of the vertical. So you don't have any of these. I like to think of it in terms of families where the top level of bubbles are your ancestors, and then the next level are the parents, and then this level I call the siblings, and this level is children, right? So so diet doesn't have any ancestors. It's the top of the vertical already. And every twice in a while you'll get down in a niche and it won't show you any verticals either, but that's just because there's not a keyword that's got a strong enough co-occurrence for Krakken to be able to determine that it really truly is an ancestor of that keyword, that it really truly does have a direct lineage associated with that market. So it just doesn't say anything. Is the graph exportable? You know, I'm thinking you can view that image and you can grab it right there. So yeah, it is exportable. Is this tools for agencies or anybody? You know, anybody who wants to dominate their empire. It was kind of designed with, well, I have an agency background. I worked for companies like Unisys and Computer Science Corp, and I worked for the military. So my thinking, unfortunately, is just kind of agency-oriented. But it's for anybody who wants to dominate their market. So Richard is asking, he says, if I want to look for some keyword ideas, should I go directly to Krakken or should I review them in TLKT and then go to Krakken? And you know, the way that I tend to use those two tools is if I want to explore a market, like the beautiful thing about Krakken is if you don't know too much about the market, you can come in here and learn about it very quickly. I was on the phone with somebody and they were talking to me about a disease that they had, and I came to Krakken and I just drilled into the disease, and it showed me all of the stuff surrounding it. It actually gave me a much quicker overview of what was going on with the disease than if I'd gone to Wikipedia and tried to read all of that jargon, all of the technical medical jargon while I'm on the phone. Krakken was actually a much easier way for me to just interpret what was going on. So
well, I was just going to say, Sue, and more importantly, there's a heuristic. There's a cash association with the research. I mean, there's a lot of research tools out there for you to create a research portfolio on just like what's going on.
Yeah.
But none of them that I know, right now at least, doesn't pin $100 bills to those words and ideas and concepts while also giving you the natural language processing association and the semantics.
Exactly. So the cool thing about Krakken is that it will give me an overview of the market. It will quickly show me what's going on. It allows me to quickly follow the money and to come up to speed on a market that I'm not terribly familiar with. I've run into a few people who are absolute, positive, hands-down subject matter experts on their subject, and Krakken doesn't tell them too much that's new, because they already know where the money is. They've been doing it for 10 years. They've been marketing it. They've been, you know, they're like the founders of that particular market. And anything is going to be hard-pressed to tell them something new about their market because they were the early adopters and they've been there from the get-go. But if you're not so intimately familiar with your market, this is going to show you ideas, and it's going to show you tangent concepts, and it's going to let you follow the money, and you can come up to speed on that market in very short order. I can usually come up to speed on an entire market in someplace between 2 and 4 hours. So that's my take on that, Richard. TLKT is a great tool for I would say more for niches. If I want a larger list of keywords, Krakken's particularly the VOMA aspect of it, is very particular about the keywords that it hands back. It's looking for a fairly reasonable monetary association. The TSMV for a keyword has to be significant as compared to the theme keyword. So when you create a theme inside of Krakken and you put in that initial seed term, which in this case was diet, it compares everything else to diet on so many different levels. It compares it based on competing pages. It compares it based on cost per click. So if, for instance, you're in a market like 4X, which is a really rich market, you've drilled into a $40 keyword, it's going to come back and say, you know, I got all of these keywords here that are 50 cents and $1, but next to $40 they just don't hold a candle. So they're not really pertinent to that market from a vertical market perspective, and it throws them all out. Now TLKT doesn't throw out anything. Whatever it comes back with, you get a C. And so that's the beauty of TLKT. You can get down in there and you can see a lot more tangent themes. It doesn't discard anything based on LSI. You've got the ability to put in the filter and say, hey, I only want to look at keywords within a certain parameter. And it doesn't sort out anything based on cost and traffic. So you end up, generally speaking, with a third of the drill that doesn't have any cost or traffic associated with it. But they're perfectly valid keywords. And just because Google comes back and says, hey, I don't have any cost or traffic associated with it, doesn't mean that the keyword's worthless. It just means Google doesn't have any record of it. So that's the difference between, one of the huge differences between the two tools. All right. All value based on pay-per-click cost. Yes, it's Kraken is predominantly based off of phrase match, pay-per-click cost, and traffic. So, wow. Okay. This is looking at the theme market analysis screen. KS, how is it different from the silo blueprint module in Domain Web Studio? And it's pretty much apples and oranges, because what you're looking at in Domain Web Studio is like you would export these keywords out of Kraken and import them into Domain Web Studio and use that to build out your silo blueprint. So this is like the starting point where you're trying to figure out the themes that you want to actually incorporate, not necessarily the exact verbiage, because Domain Web Studio is going to look at your whole list of keywords and tell you, based on your business rules, which keywords are going to work out best for you. But what Kraken does is it's that precursor to that allows you to figure out which themes and what kinds of keywords it is that you're wanting to incorporate. I don't know if that makes sense, but see an example. Yeah, we'll get into example. I'm going to deal with the diet market today, Richard, because that's what I've been looking at, but we will look at more than just the vertical here. Are synonyms? Okay. So Don put that question about synonyms on hold. We'll get back to it in a minute. If I don't get back to it, ping me and remind me.
And Sue, can you read the full questions out too?
Yeah.
When you get them, I do not have access to questions. I've verified that. So
that's just such a bummer. All right, we'll have to get that
fixed. It was a
fixed.
setting. Yeah, no worries. We'll do that. We'll deal with that next time. But just do it this way.
So Steve asked, do we need to use both to work the system to the greatest advantage, meaning TLKT and Kraken?
Don't get me started on that one. I think that you can probably get all of the keywords that you want to out of Kraken. There's the show all keywords thing here. So like, let me go over this screen. Let me just sally forward. And Sue, can I respond before we get into your perspective, which is always market swallowing?
Sure.
I would like to make sure that everybody on this call is aware, and for future calls and all other webinars and ongoing coaching and everything else that you'll see coming this upcoming year, that Sue only knows one language. So when you ask her a question, the answer for you is always, it depends. But when you get an answer from her, it's always going to be, if you're going to swallow the entire market, without exception, all keywords, including long tails, and all vertical traffic, without exception. So when you ask your questions, remember that she's only coming from that perspective ever. Okay?
My motto is, anything worth doing is worth doing to extreme excess.
Exactly. And I also would like to comment that all of our tools have been designed, with Sue and I sitting down in the boardroom and only coming from that perspective. That has been our greatest asset. And for people who are more involved in niches, that has been their greatest nemesis, because they, by default, niche mining thinks small. Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We designed TLKT specifically for niche miners.
Yeah.
Okay, but the interesting thing is that Kraken also provides data for niche mining. However, it only provides it from a perspective of people who can't be bothered for every single 1.2 million long tails around a single term. It only brings back the interesting long tails. And when we say interesting, meaning a financial capacity or a financial nomination that's related to the total cash in the vertical keywords, that is the short tails in that market. TLKT was designed for those of you who might be, when you ask that question, for example, wanting a whole pile of long tails based on pure natural language. That might be 5 cents a click. or that might be no, even 0 cents per click, but have a long tail, a latent semantic indexing. And we'll get into that more next week when she exposes how we designed the rather sophisticated natural language processing algorithms for long tail blog posts and these types of things with TLKT. Is that fair, Sue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome.
So right here, we're looking at that. We're looking at the top of the vertical. And as I said here, these are like the most important things that sort of give you the theme at a glance, if you will. And then the keywords here, when you look at this, you're looking at a whole bunch of searches. You're looking at a really high TSMV. You're looking at a very humble cost per click, right? So that's why you're going to get cost per clicks down here at 33 cents and 50 cents, and you've got a TSMV on this screen that actually falls fairly low, because this is not, these values are not absolutely outrageous. It's just the searches that are outrageous. So, and you have an idiot here that's spending $5 on ingredients. Don't get me started. Like, I want to say, the tool can only bring back...
That's what I was going to say.
The tool is going to bring back data, and it's going to make decisions based on the data that it brings back, but you still have to use your common sense and look at some of these things and go, okay, there are people out there that are doing some really good drugs. They haven't shared them with me, so I'm not going to select that keyword, okay? Okay, so these keywords are deemed to be the important keywords as you look at this theme. And then the next level of keywords, when you say show all keywords, where does the keyword list come from? Yes, you start, I'll back up to that, and I'll show you a drill here in a minute with synonyms, which is going to pull back into that other synonym question. Hang on, Shelton. So when you say show me all the keywords, then you're going to see this actually gets into a pretty decent list of keywords. There should be somewhere around 200 keywords on this list. And because our original, the seed term wasn't wasn't that $2 just a minute ago?
No, you're good.
Okay. All right, good. Because the seed term isn't too... Wow. Because the seed term isn't too terribly expensive, you get a whole bunch of keywords down here. You actually even get a few keywords in here that don't have any cost per click. But I can tell you right now, the reason that this got included is because diets, it's basically a long tail. And so because the LSI was so high, and because the starting values weren't incredibly exorbitant, that keyword was included in. So it's a whole algorithm of starting with the seed term and then deciding how far out it's going to branch. And you can see Smart for Life Cookie Diet. You can get some pretty crazy long tails in here too. So that's why I said...
Sometimes, sorry, Sue, sometimes long tails will penetrate the market and they become what Sue and I call memes.
Yeah.
And memes are long tails. And memes are a little bit different than just a pure keyword long tail. That is, they have begun to penetrate the market either via branding or promotion, and they themselves, it can be a list of even, Sue and I have actually seen a meme as long as 6 keywords long. That was $5 a click.
Yeah.
Sometimes phrases, or especially like branding phrases, will turn into high cost, high co-occurrence, which we'll get into co-occurrence shortly, because honestly, co-occurrence is my thing that Sue put on the spread. This is my
market share.
Yeah, market share is my favorite. This is my favorite column in this whole thing, because when you take the, because I'm essentially a marketer, I like to know what memes, what ideas, what concepts actually have financial value tied to them. And so that's how I like to sculpt. When we have the course come out on WR2 video sites and the rest, the way that we build our secondary sites is really, really fast. And it's all based on just using Krakken pretty simply to come up with those silos, because, we're not building silos for our products and our brands and so on and so forth. But co-occurrence is on WR2, we're just driving traffic quickly. But I love co-occurrence because it's really obvious by just looking at what Sue drilled into here that ingredients somehow is a concept, an idea, or a meme that is related to the diet industry in general, right? Obviously. I mean, common sense would tell you that, but what you don't know until you look at this is, holy crap, 7.84%, which as you get to know our software, you'll realize is actually a fairly high co-occurrence overall. Is, it's not small. I mean, it's not as high as 84%, obviously, but anything above 3% co-occurrence means that there's some stuff happening around that concept, which, as Sue will show you upcoming, you could do a breakaway later on. If, for example, your products are based on ingredients, or let's say your branding technique is based on analyzing labels at the shopping mall or something like that, then you can easily, do a breakaway drill down and start to drill deeply into that and sculpt your overall branding theme based on that. And you wouldn't know that with any other tool out there. I just love that about this design.
Okay, so I've got feedback on the questions. Guys telling me that indeed the cost per click on diet was $2 a minute ago. So this is humorous. I'll tell you what happened.
What the hell happened? Okay.
So I've had these drilled out since, I don't know, early summer, I think. I drilled this theme out because I wanted to redo a diet video that I had done several years ago. And so, as everybody probably knows, cost per click fluctuates throughout the year. And when we drill out a keyword, we cache the data. And the data is cached for between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on the type of data that it is. And so I suspect that while we've been doing this video, somebody else watching the vid has probably opened up their Krakken account and drilled into diet. Either that, or I triggered it on another screen, because I do have a couple of other diet things back here in the back, and so maybe I don't think so. I bet somebody just drilled it out a few minutes ago. And so it's updated the cost per click. No, it's not a different data center. It's actually the fact that it's been several months. And so because we're moving into, actually we can just, here. We'll go to Google Trends, and this will show you the trends. Now this is the search for trend for diet. This doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the cost per click for diet. But it's a fascinating thing. You can see right here, right before the holidays, nobody is searching for diet. And then obviously, you get the January 1st, everybody makes their little promise to themselves that they're going to lose weight, right? And so the searches for diet just absolutely skyrocket practically overnight, and it happens every single year. And then you get this downward trend. and so along with that, you get similar kind of liars. You get similar kind of spikes on the cost per click. You'll see trends for cost per click, and so somewhere or another, somebody has decided they've gotten on the diet bandwagon, and the bidding war for diet has gone up to $6 from $2 to $6. I'm trying to remember exactly when I drilled that out. I think it was June or July. So it's a fascinating thing. So if somebody else drills a keyword, for some reason one of the keywords in your list is re-drilled, when you refresh your screen, you're going to get the latest data in the database. It's not like this version of diet was you for yours, and it's always going to stay this. It's going to reflect whatever's in the database, the most recent data in the database. So anyway, that's gotten updated within the last hour. I find it pretty fascinating.
Yeah, that's pretty humorous. It's also a testament to the fresh squeezed nature of our database that in real time we can actually watch a keyword. So whoever's drilling this, thanks.
I had a chocolate theme that I was doing a few years ago that I started doing it in December, and I had all of these Christmas terms for chocolate, and I came back and I re-drilled the theme in February, I think it was, and it shifted. Yeah, I think it was just after Valentine's Day, and it shifted from all of these Christmas ideas to Easter ideas. And I was just, there was, I don't know, like we had Krakken for maybe a year at that point, and I just sat there completely in shock at the idea of how the market had shifted, how all of those old keywords now were gone, and there were a whole new set of holiday-related chocolate keywords in there. So.
And also, Sue, we want to remind people, because you may not remember this, but we were working with a client once, and I gave him older data. That's a good reminder for everybody here who does have Krakken, because I know some of you do, that when you have a client, make sure that if you go back into an old Krakken, drill or theme, because I've got hundreds of themes from sometimes are over a year old. Make sure you just hit the redrill button. That's correct, right, Sue? The redrill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just hit that.
Just drill it again.
Yeah, it'll fresh squeeze.
Absolutely.
You. Okay.
So, all right. So we took a fast look at trends. I want to show you. I've got another more of a niche down here. Yeah, let me just show you Google Trends here really fast. Since we just look at Google Trends, now the diet one that we were looking at just a minute ago had only diet as the parent theme. It didn't have any synonyms. This one's got a parent theme and some synonyms. And this is really cool because it allows you, it'll automatically populate the trends with whatever your parent themes and synonyms are. And so you can look here and say, wow, this keyword, the orange one, protein diet, is a keyword that's actually on the rise. And to a lesser extent, high protein diet's on the rise. But these two down here, they're like, not only are they much less important, but they also aren't going anywhere. So that's one of the really cool advantages. There's one other thing that we can do. Let me open this link in a new tab and just take a quick look at, this is the cluster overview. And you can also take a look at Google Trends here. And what this will do is it'll bring back all of your parent themes for the entire cluster. And you can check and uncheck as you want to. And it'll show you, it can only do 5 at a shot. That's a limitation on Google. But it's a quick and easy way for you to start to get a feel. That's why I say when you have a cluster, stick one market in your cluster, because then you can use facilities like this to get an idea of who's up and coming in your particular market. And the other reason why you want to keep everything to a particular market is because of, especially this graph right here. By default, you're in a vertical market view, which means you're looking at, when you're talking about this particular screen, the themes overview screen, or the cluster screen, you're looking at all of the keywords. This graph is showing you a culmination of all of the important keywords in all of your themes, and it's showing you who are the top market shareholders, who controls the majority of the money within this. And because I go down, I've got several high-protein diets. I've got several niches within this market, as well as quite a few vertical market concepts. So this has gotten quite scattered, but still it's kind of interesting. WebMD, Wikipedia, Mayo Clinic, ingredientsrestaurant.com. That's interesting. About.com, a couple of different about.com subdomains, diet.com, US News, Weight Watchers. So you can get a feel there. The majority is miscellaneous, right? And then there's just like 20 or so guys that have gotten any kind of a piece of data. Now, we can switch from the vertical market to the synonymic net, which then adjusts this so that you're only looking at the parent themes and synonyms within this entire cluster. And this breaks it down. It's not a huge difference. If I were perhaps in a smaller cluster or a more defined cluster, sometimes this pie chart starts to really break out and really show you who's in control of the market. So so that's something to think about. Now, the other thing I want to show you here is when I'm looking down through the clusters, what's really helpful is I can see at a glance, I can see the minimum cost per click in a theme. I can see the maximum cost per click in a theme. So that means that there's going to be one keyword let me go back to vertical market view again. Otherwise, I'm just looking at the parent theme for the vast majority of these. Okay, I can see the minimum cost per click. I can see the maximum cost per click. So within diet, there's one keyword that's 33 cents. There's another keyword that's $14.69, and the average of all 15 keywords is $2.75. So I really like to look down the averages. That really helps me to follow where the money is. If my average is above, see, I'm looking at $2, $2, $3, $2, $2, $2, $4. So that's interesting. And I've got a max cost per click of 23. Carb diets has got quite a bit of money in it. Now, if you know anything about the diet market, you know that there's a whole bunch of carb diets out there. I'm sure a lot of them have got affiliate programs. Affiliate programs are usually those things that drive up the cost per click price, at least in the diet industry, but I find that in a lot of markets too. So but the other thing that you're going to find is the pain. The cost per click not only tends to follow the affiliates, but it also tends to follow the pains, because where there's a lot of pain, there are affiliate products that are working really well, and so guys are willing to spend money on it.
And Sue, I'd also like to add that extremely high, disproportionate, gigantic, like ingredients that we saw a half hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes that will mean that there's big branding, what we call stupid money.
Right.
And stupid, just so those of you who don't have a lot of pay-per-click background, stupid money is just a sign, he who can pay the most amount of money to acquire a lead at the end of the day really wins. So one of the quick assessments you can make when you have something that's like 3,000% above median, or even 1,000% above median, is that there's big branding stuff happening where, stupid money is throwing cost per click at some point in history. And again, Sue, maybe you could answer this. I don't know. If you see something at like $14 or $17 a click and the median is like 35 cents or $3, I guess that is the way that we pull the data, is that can have occurred at any point in time, or is that occurring now?
It's going to have occurred either when I drilled into this or more recently.
Okay, so depending on how fresh the drill is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So good. I know that all of these keywords, they're not going to be any more than 6 months old, probably 90 days old.
Right, okay.
So as I sally forward looking down this list, I see here detox. There's a keyword under detox that's coming in at almost $50, and the average, of course, just that keyword right there is going to throw the average up. But I'm just completely curious now. I got to go look at detox, and I got to find out if I do a sort by cost per click, it's going to bring that keyword right smack to the top. Drug and alcohol detox. That's fascinating. Tangent from diets, but fascinating. It is. So, like, those are the kinds of things, as I sit here and look at it, alcohol detox centers, and I start to, my head starts to go 1,000 miles an hour, and I start to wonder if whatever my original idea is, if there's any reason why I would want to can make use of that idea, basically, is make use of that additional piece of information. So so that's why I go down that initial screen looking for things that just kind of stick out. I'm looking for additional pieces of information that help me to mold and craft where I'm going with my website, where I'm going with my online marketing strategy. That could end up being anything from a tangent website within this market to some kind of a feeder site that ends up bringing it into another avenue of products that I want to incorporate. Now, I have to say, with that particular keyword, it didn't have enough traffic on it for it to really be interesting to me. But sometimes you get keywords where it's really like spot on, like it's a real total golden niche, and I wouldn't have found it otherwise. So just to back up for a second, the other thing that I would look at probably are carb diets at $23. Sort by cost per click, bring that information to the top, and it's just low carbohydrate. That's another one of those. I would actually go dig into that word and find out why the heck somebody's bidding $23 on low carbohydrate. But But depending on the product that it is that I'm selling, I would definitely, I mean, that's 500 searches a day. Remember, these are daily. So that's an interesting concept. I would go poke around and see why the heck somebody's bidding on that at that extreme price. Now, the Atkins diet, I know has got an affiliate program, and that could be a spin-off of that. They might find there's obviously not a lot of pay-per-click traffic there, so they might be finding that if somebody's looking for a low-carb diet, that they're getting some real high-converting traffic for their Atkins program. Something along those lines, that might be what's going on, but it would be worth investigating to see. So those are the thoughts. That's the way that I approach it, market research, when I'm looking at that whole cluster screen, the themes overview screen. So let's back up for a second and take some more questions. Can we use Krakken to investigate an existing affiliate product on the market to create articles, campaigns, etc., to go after the market in ways others are not? Absolutely.
Yes, I do it every day, most of the day, actually. Especially right now during the WR2 stuff that Sue and I are focusing on with video, and it's just been amazing because of the synomic. For example, as I probably shouldn't reveal the market. Well, no, actually, I don't even care because you just can't compete with me. So, like for example, I'm drilling in for a client on, rebounders, those bouncing trampolines. And by using Krakken, the synonyms around that, and as I drilled deeper in, I did several drills and several breakaway drills, which Sue will show. I was able to find, mini trampoline. And the truth is, yeah, you can do that on Google, just using your regular searches and the tilde key and everything, because we incorporate all that. But we incorporate all that into Krakken. The thing you can't do by manually assessment, for example, get all this gigantic pile of keywords that I have just around the rebounder industry and all the name brands and all these other things that you can put in, is it takes me an average of all day to do it by hand, and I can do it because, I helped co-invent Krakken, so I can still do it. It takes me 23 minutes. In fact, I'm drilling right now because Sue's speaking.
But
It's just, you guys, this is part of the reason we're creating this, is that Sue decided to show you what it is we actually do, and to show you the manual comparison to this is going to really make the value clear in your mind, not only your minds, but also your client's minds, if you have them, and also help you really quickly, prepare these drills for these products. So, for example, my client is an affiliate for rebounders, right? So that should answer your question, because what I'm doing is I've immediately, and Sue described this earlier, where we become expert researchers or accelerated researchers. This person knows rebounders really, really well. It took me 45 minutes to catch up with them. There's really only 5 rebounders on the market, and there's 5 different kinds of names for rebounders: rebounding, mini trampolines, exercise trampolines. There's like 4 or 5, and then like in 45 minutes, I've got the whole thing laid out, and they're looking at me like, "How did you do that?" So thanks.
So Wayne asks, how would I further investigate low carbohydrates? So there's 2 things I would do. One is I would grab the keyword, and the other one is that I would go ahead and drill into it. So while that's coming up with the synonyms, which is the first step, I'd come over here and I'd just take a look at low carbohydrate. I would look here and I would see, okay, Atkins, online stores, foods. I'm looking to see who's squatting on this keyword, superstore, why, right? And then I would look too and just see who's showing up in the natural results. But if my query is about the cost per click, then I want to see who's actually squatting on that in terms of ads. And then I would be interested in looking, okay, I've got Wikipedia, education site, about.com, education site, quickwatch.com. I don't know them. I go take a look. All right. Oh, Quackwatch. Help if I could actually read. All right, that's an info site. Mayo Clinic info site. Low carb luxury. Somehow that doesn't sound like an info site to me. Recipes, not particularly overly. I mean, it's got a little bit of monetization here, but just it doesn't look like they're selling anything right bang out the box. No, they're looking for donations. Okay. theatlantic.com. That's going to be, sounds like a news site. Yeah. So, fascinatingly enough, like let's just look at about.com for a second. So about.com has their low carb page. They've got a subdomain, lowcarbdiets.about.com, and this homepage has got a page rank of 6. And so that's why people are squatting on this term, because you got to work long and hard to get above the fold on the low carb, for the low carb keyword. It's full of educational sites, which it sounds like an educational term. If I were Google, I'd be putting educational sites at the top of it too. So the only way, if you actually want to monetize that keyword, if you want to go after the people who are actually looking to buy something when they're searching for that keyword, the only way you're going to be able to do that efficiently is to put up an ad, because going for that keyword is going to be a long, hard row to hoe. And it's a distinct possibility that Google's got that term skewed so that it's not looking to have anything but an educational site at the top. So the other thing that I would probably do, about.com tends to have some advertisements here. And so if I were really wanting to squat on that keyword, I would look into seeing if I could get some kind of an ad with about.com as well as the pay-per-click stuff. In the meantime, back at the ranch, we've drilled into this keyword, and Google has brought back, we've found what's called search engine proven synonyms, right? These are terms that Google says it associates as a synonym with low carbohydrates. So low carb, with and without the space, carbs, sugar, low carbs, carbohydrates. You're free to include any of these keywords or exclude any of these keywords, depending on what you want to do. If there's something else that strikes your fancy while you're thinking about it, you can type it in here and add it. And then when you're done with that, you say continue, and it's going to go and fetch the basic information for these keywords, the cost and the traffic, and come back and tell you, give you the option for what you want to make an actual theme-defining synonym versus a keyword that's just used to generate keywords. So let's talk about that for a minute. When you put in a parent theme, that initial seed term, which in our case was low carbohydrate, Google's going to go, or Krakken's going to go and look on Google and on Yahoo. Since the results for Yahoo and Bing are identical at the moment, it doesn't bother to grab both. It's just going to grab Yahoo and Google. And it's going to grab the top 100 results on both of those search engines, and it's going to grab all of the content on all of those pages. We're going to look for keywords on those pages, and we also use all of that information as what's called a corpus when you're in LSI speak, in semantic indexing speak. And what a corpus is a body of works against which all of the keywords are compared to determine how semantically relevant that keyword is. So what this does is it gives us a niche-related corpus. So our LSI algorithms are actually bounced against this unique corpus that's thematically relevant, and we balance that with the Bayesian index, which is more generic. So what that ends up telling us are which keywords are specific to this market, and it does a really good job of that. So we're able to bring back finely tuned keywords that are highly relevant to the idea of low carbohydrate. Okay, so now let's include the idea of synonyms. We've got two different kinds of synonyms. We've got synonyms that are theme defining, which means we grab the corpus and incorporate all of those pages into our corpus for those keywords that are theme defining. And then we've got other keywords that are just keyword generation. That means we go and scrape those pages for keywords, but we don't actually use those pages as part of that theme. So in my case, it's going to come back here in a second, and I can tell it which keywords I want to define as theme defining, and those ideas will become part of the corpus. And then anything that I don't select as theme defining, it's just going to go out and grab keywords around that concept, but not use it as deciding whether or not each one of the keywords. At this point, it's going to bring back probably close to 60,000 keywords. And so it's going to bounce each one of those 60,000 keywords against the corpus to determine how relevant it is. So if I want to expand the idea to include all of these, if I want to expand the idea of that theme to include all of these ideas, then I can say, hey, they're all theme defining, create the corpus out of all of these, and then tell me if any of the keywords that are going to come back are related to any of those themes. The larger your corpus, the more keywords that are going to be included in your theme, because the more things are going to be found as relevant. So if you have, you can add a keyword here that's maybe, you could add any keyword. You could add diet, for instance, as a keyword generation only, and then that's going to generate a whole lot more keywords, but you don't have to make it theme defining so that it's not going to bounce all those keywords against diet. It's just going to bounce the keywords against the low carb ideas and say, okay, these diet keywords are highly associated with low carb, then it'll keep them, and if not, it'll discard them. Does that make sense? I'm going to go ahead and make all of these theme defining and click that I'm done and let it go on and do its thing. Okay, so now it comes back immediately. It tells me that everything's there, and then I can go ahead and drill into the theme. So let me go take a look and see if anybody was completely confused by that last thing.
Okay. Yeah, I think I think it's a challenge. This is why Sue and I have talked over the last few days with our developer, so that when that thing is drilling, it's actually telling you guys what's happening. It takes a little while to fully grasp the size of this thing. And I think that's one of the changes you'll seeing in the next year is we'll be actually showing you what's going on. We've also created documents to give you an idea of what's actually happened to the keyword. So it is helpful to know what's going on because you're able to use the data a little more effectively.
Right.
You're able to trust the data in a way that you don't trust other keyword tools. And that's actually been a shortcoming of mine in the marketing campaign, as I didn't really educate enough about what's happening with the words, because once people see what's happening, especially agencies and actually anyone, they're able to apply it in really, really powerful ways. And it's not just another keyword tool, because it's really not a keyword tool, is it, Sue?
No. I mean, it has keywords in it, so it resembles a keyword tool, but it's really a market analysis tool.
Yeah, our keyword tools are not like other people's keyword tools.
So back to Don's question. Are the synonyms returned from Kraken at the beginning of the drill suitable, if and when appropriate, to simply import them as synonyms in DWS on the keyword? Oh, yeah, sure. So can you use the synonyms that Kraken gives you as synonyms on Domain Web Studio? Absolutely. I usually craft my synonyms, I have to admit. So
yes, that's I was going to go ahead, Sue. I have something to say about that as well.
Yeah, what Kraken does to start you off with synonyms is it tells you what Google perceives as synonyms. And what Google perceives as synonyms can change from day to day, like everything else that Google thinks. And while it brings back some good ideas, and oftentimes actually, it brings back ideas I wouldn't have otherwise thought of, it's not necessarily going to give me the best idea of what I should be using as synonyms. Especially
not based, and again, I'm going to answer this and say it depends. Okay, because Sue and I have years in training people. One of the early mistakes that I made is to assume that everybody is doing that one-size-fits-all with Kraken. And let me just simplify it very, very quickly. If you have a product or a service or an array of products or services, you have more to sculpt with when it comes to designing your synonym array. And truthfully, one of my personal secrets is I will spend up to 2 or 3 hours, which probably for you translates to a whole day, at least at this point, and if you're brand new, before I ever import into Domain Web Studio. Okay? That's the secret. And the reason we don't teach it more in Domain Web Studio, which is why we've started to separate the webinars, is because we are quickly moving towards integrating the platforms, and we haven't yet. So we're still doing it manually using different keyword tools, and it's also possible to not use Kraken and use Domain Web Studio very well using other methods. It's just faster to use Kraken, like much faster, and you get more effective data. So we do have an add your own synonym function, which Sue showed you on the synonym screen, and that is something that you are more likely to use when you're building what Sue calls a WR1 website, where you already have your own products and services. And you already know, for example, that Mini Trampoline is very much related to Rebounder, for example. That's an example of something I'm drilling right now, okay, that's running while we're talking. My client already knows that a Mini Trampoline and a Rebounder is synonymic. Okay, so at that point you can shortcut. However, if you don't know what you're doing, or you're building out what Sue calls WR2, or just feeder sites, I don't bother with all that. I mean, I use Kraken, and I have a feeder site up in 20 minutes. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Okay, 3 hours. And the reason is I don't really need to know more than Kraken gives me about a single keyword. And as long as I have 4 or 5 synonyms in there, it's just kind of done. I don't need to research a lot more because I'm specifically targeting those clusters.
Right, because you don't have too extensive a keyword list.
And I don't have any. I don't have any products. When you have products, you have more of what in the past we called water cooler keywords. What we really mean by that is the more that you're running your own business and that you have your own products and services, the more that you won't let Google data, you won't be jerked around by the data. Because remember, the search engine results are whatever is popular. It's a popularity contest. It's whatever popular at the time. And so you have to stay really, really focused on your own innovations, products, and services, and your own company position when you're driving your own products. See? But when you're building feeder sites to support those WR2s to support your products, you can just stick with what's already popular and just drive a bunch of long tails around those themes. And then what I do after that is I go to TLKT to build the long tails once I know Kraken's top-level commandments, if you will, on theme clusters. And it's really amazing. Like, it literally only takes an hour. And I'm speaking from direct experience. Spend an hour and a half on Kraken is worth the thousands of dollars of other keyword tools that I had. Then I just jump over to TLKT if I want a bunch of long tails. And then Bob's your uncle, literally.
Right.
You're just kind of done.
Yeah. So a couple of other things before we leave the cluster screen that I want to show you. One is the import list. Now, in Network Empire, in the local business course that I did, I talk about local keywords, and I talk about grabbing a keyword list, a generic keyword list, and then appending or prepending the locale onto it. And so what I would do once I've got that list and I've prepended or appended my locales, I would come here into the import list. I'd create a new import list, and I'd just paste my keyword list, 1 keyword per line here, and then let it go off and do its thing. Now the interesting thing about that, because this is phrase match and because you're talking about long tails that have got a locale associated with it, the vast majority of the keywords that are going to come back are going to come back with no cost or traffic. Again, it doesn't mean that there's no cost or traffic there. It just means that it's not registering on Google. So the ones that do have cost and traffic are really valuable keywords. I make sure that I include those in my website. And then I go back to the national level and I look for other really competitive terms on a national level that didn't make the cut, but that are terms that, obviously they're in line with what it is that I want to do on my website. And I'll use those with the locale to flesh it out. And I've got a couple of videos over there in the local business section. I know that was a really quick and probably too fast of an overview, but it's just what I'm trying to say is in this particular area, you can import your keyword list, and you can import any kind of keyword list. If you've got keywords from your analytics and you want to drop them in and see how valuable those keywords are, I usually take a look at how valuable the keywords are before I decide whether or not I want to like do a press release on it, or really, just because I'm getting some conversions off of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best bet for me to go spend a lot of time and money, because just because it's natural traffic doesn't mean that it's free, right? So how much effort do I want to put into that keyword? I'm going to let Krakken come back and tell me how valuable it is.
Yeah, this is one of Krakken's best kept secrets, actually. I do not, with the exception of TLKT, I don't use any keywords before I dump them into here.
Right.
And when it comes to DWS, of course, you can use all the function out there. There's an exception. You can use all that. But this is why I use Kraken before DWS. And again, that's an advanced. Not everybody can afford to do that. But this is something that I just prefer to do because there's no keyword tool that I have to trust, because I know that our processes are far deeper in the analysis than the other tools that I'm using. It's not that I don't use other tools. Like sometimes I use, the Google Instant Search, stuff out there or some of these things. But most of the time, I get them all back from Kraken. If I don't, or I have a client, a lot of the times clients will bring me giant lists that they think are useful. It's really fun to watch their expression when you dump it in here and bring back all the data.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, don't get me started.
Yeah, don't get her started. Okay. No, get her started, believe me.
I can't tell you how many clients I've won over because I grabbed the keyword list that the previous SEO company had given them keywords that they were trying to rank for and partially successful in ranking for, and I drop them into Kraken and do that as an import list, and then drill into that primary term that they're looking for and just show them where the money is. Like, that they see in a heartbeat that the previous guys were just barking up the wrong tree. And
well, she does it to me. She does it to me all the time. And I help invent the tool. Well, the thing is that sometimes she'll have me go out and check onto the keyword tools, so we'll buy them. And one of my things is I oversee the research on competitive tools, and so I'll build something and do it, and I'll get all excited about the data, and she'll just go, like, okay, well, we had that. We were already right about where the money pocket was in that vertical. Yeah, so it's cool.
So Richard just asked a question. Do we have training on the process that shows what Russell was just talking about when he was talking about the WR2 sites? And
we are building that. Sue and I are collaborating on a WR1, WR2 training system.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sue, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just got excited.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll be more information coming out about that shortly.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, so the other thing I want to show you here on this cluster screen, I know there's a couple more questions, I'll get to them in a second. The other thing I want to show you here on the cluster screen is this line right here. Now, keeping in mind that this line represents an entire theme and not just a keyword, what this line represents here are the people who are ranked for this keyword. It's the domain ORV, organic, rank, value, fall off, thumbnail. And you can actually click on it, and it'll take you right into that theme and right into the ranked domains for that theme. And you can see who's ranked for the keywords within this theme. It's an overall view that I just want to, it's just such a cool thing what Kelley managed to cram into a single line. This is an overview of the domains that are ranking for all of the important keywords within this theme. And what this is showing you, like this keyword right here, where this doesn't have nearly the slope that this one's got, this is a much more competitive theme than this one. This has got 2 or 3 guys right here at the beginning that are ranked for a lot of keywords, and then it falls off and kind of goes flat, right? This is sort of the same way. It's got a much slower slope right here at the beginning, so you've got more guys that are ranked for more keywords, and then past the 5 or 6 mark you've got nothing, right? You look at this guy, this one is particularly competitive. You've got several of them that are ranked before that falls to a flat line. This one, you just got 1 or 2 sites that are ranked. So let's just come all the way into here, and let's look now at the ranked domains screen. This is one of my favorite graphs in the entire in all of Kraken. It's a little bit hard to grok right at first, but once you get it, it's just absolutely an amazing thing. So the market strategy summary, just in your mind, split this. Here at the 50% and here at the 50%. And if you've got a lot of big bubbles that are up here in this quadrant, forget about it. It's really competitive. There's a lot of heavy hitters. The bigger the dot, the heavier the hitter. And the more folks that are up here, the more deep links they've got. What this is representing down here are the percentage of deep links. So these are the guys that have got more than 50% of their links are deep links, meaning that they're really well SEO'd and they've got quality content. People are linking to them naturally as well as inbound linking campaigns. And what you've got over here are what percentage of the keywords they're ranked for. So you've got a couple of these sites that are ranked for a whole bunch of keywords, and they're also pretty heavy hitters. They've got deep links, and the size of the dot is the number of competing pages on the site. So you got a couple of really pretty heavy-hitting authority sites here within this particular market. Diet. I mean, you would expect that for diet, right? You're going to have heavy educational authority sites that are going to be ranking for these terms. Now, as you come down here, you've got WebMD, which is ranked for some of the most valuable keywords, and then they've got a little bit of ranking. Now, if you want to take a deeper view into that, we click on that, and it'll show you exactly which of the important keywords they're ranked for and what position they're ranked for. So, fascinatingly enough, like gone are the days when you just ranked once or twice on Google. Now you can rank 100,000 times, right? So, WebMD.com is ranked positions 2 and 3 on Yahoo. They rank positions 1, 16, 60, 68, 71, 72, all of these places on Google. And then it gives you an estimation of what that ORV, real, and what the max is. Okay, so the max, this was a holdover from back in the good old days when you could only rank in 2 positions on both Yahoo and Google. It's now possible, obviously, as you can see, to rank for a whole lot more than 2 positions on Google. And sometimes you'll get somebody who ranks for position 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when that happens, what their yearly ORV actually is exceeds what we estimate the maximum to be, because we're still calculating the max as being 2 positions on both Google and Yahoo. So this is a place where you can really come in and sell your client. For those guys of you who are agencies, you can come back to the rank domain screen and you can add their domain into their main theme, and you can show them how pathetically ranked they are across all of their important keywords. This is called missed opportunity, right? And you can bring them right in here onto their particular domain, and you can say, look, this is the potential pie that you could be ranked for, and this is the little teeny slice that you guys actually have. And if that doesn't close them, go find a better client. And so this breaks down the whole list, all of the different, and most of the time when I'm talking to a client, they're lucky if they rank for 3 or 4. Actually, that's not true. I'll have to say recently I've probably gotten a better class of client because they will rank for quite a few terms, but still the slice of that pie is almost always pathetic, and that speaks to a CEO. They look at the money that's available and they look at the money that they're getting and what they're leaving on the table, and if you want these images too, you can also view those images. You can grab them and you can stick them in your presentation, and this information you can export and populate into your report. So just a quick aside for those guys of you who are agencies and you want to use this to close folks, I think that's one of the most powerful tools we have. So to go back, this is something that I use personally. Well, I mean, you can also use that to help sell guys because you usually end up, let me just show you, let me come back here to a niche. This is diet delivery service. And within this more niche-y thing, you can see there's not nearly so many heavy hitters. These guys are more down here below the fold. And there was one more I had. Let's just go see what this particular one. This high-protein diets, that's another one where it's a strongly educational term, so you got a lot of educational sites up here. I should go find another let me just go back to my themes, and let's find something that's kind of somewhere in between. That might not be anything like that in the diet industry, but let's look at detox. It's still pretty obnoxious. I mean, that's not as bad as having, 2 or 3 folks sitting right up here at the top, but it's more competitive than you might think. I would say I looked into the detox diet a couple of years ago, and there was room to really take that market, but somebody might have moved in the meantime. So that's the ranked domain suite of screens. Let me just pause for a second before I move off this topic and see if there are any questions while I was just talking about. Kevin's talking about the pie chart. When we get an other percentage, is that the market share, or can we edge into that? That we can edge into. The pie charts are different on different screens, and in this particular one, you're looking at market share. This is the market share is defined by dollars. So you're looking at Wikipedia as owning the vast majority of the money keywords in this market. And the first person who's got a slice after that is about.com. Then you've got Gaiam. Gaiam is going to be the first guys who've got a slice who are actually a monetized company. You've got AAFP, WebMD, Sober Recovery, eHow. Yeah, and then you've got detox.org. You got the vast majority of the people in this market, interestingly enough, are educational sites. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, Kevin. If not, ask it again. Does the last keyword tool also have similar domain ranking analysis screens? Ask me again next week. It's got, no, it doesn't have anything similar. You can do a keyword inspection, and you can find some basic information about a particular keyword, but this isn't just looking at it from the keyword perspective. Like, this is where Krakken just rocks. It's looking at it from the theme perspective. And so, no, there's nothing like that in the last keyword tool. So, let's go back to this theme from here. And the last thing I want to show you is the competitive analysis screen, which is here. The competitive analysis screen is always looking at your theme from the perspective of your parent theme and theme defining synonyms. It's not looking at it from a complete important keyword perspective. And so that's the difference between the competitive white paper and the ranked domain screen. Okay? And what this is designed to show you is how difficult it is to break into this market. So where we've only got one keyword here, this becomes a much more straightforward screen. So it's a good place to start. We've got the position that this domain holds, and it looks at it from a domain perspective. So you'll see here this particular domain, usnews.com, actually holds 2 different spaces. So they're ranked in position number 5 as well as position number 6. So let's come back up here to the number 1 position, WebMD. This is going to give you, up here, this gives you an overview of the domain itself. It's a 1996 domain, and it's the domain, the home page on it is a page rank 7. From the perspective of the theme, the ORV, real is $14 million. It talks about a rank multiplier, which is basically how much it's multiplying based on this position. So in other words, this position, the rank multiplier is 0.43. This is assuming that roughly half the people are going to click on the number 1 position, and then it drops off significantly to the number 2 position. And I know it varies from theme to theme and even from keyword to keyword, but it's just to give you an idea. It's a thumbnail, right? It's a what do you call it? Like a mark in the sand. So so for this, we're multiplying it by 0.43 in order to get you a value for this particular domain. This is holding in position number 2. It's multiplying it by 0.122. This is in position number 3, so it's multiplying it by 0.093. This is position 5 and 6, so the fall off isn't as steep. You see the next fall off is 0.62, but that's because it's only position 4. So this is, we're just trying to be completely transparent here by what we're multiplying the value of this keyword for to determine the Google ORV real for this particular domain. And that's how you're getting, that's how it's calculating this pie chart up here and showing you who's owning the market. Remember, this is just for the parent theme and synonyms. So, so as I look here, it's going to show you the actual page that's ranked. It's going to show you the PR for the page as opposed to this one, which is the PR for the site. So this helps to give you a feel for, okay, WebMD, page rank 7, 1996 site, and it's got 1.5 million pages indexed. So it's a heavy authority site. If I got to go up against this site and I'm looking at this particular page, which is a page rank 6, I got my work cut out for me. It's got the keyword actually in the URL. To get above that, I've got to have a really strong site and a really strong page. Position number 2, we're looking at the same kind of a site, except for the site's only got a page rank 4, interestingly enough, diet.com, and it's the home page that's ranked. It's also a PR4. Obviously, it's going to be the same as the domain, right? You look at number 3, Wikipedia. Obviously, that's not going to be the home page. It's going to be the diet page. Where the site's got a page rank of 8, this page has got a page rank of 5. So what you're able to glean from this is you can look at this and say, okay, is this page, is the value of this page, is the page rank of this page due to the inbound links, due to the SEO, or due to the weight of the site? So a lot of times you'll see something in position 2 or 3 that's got a really low page rank as opposed to the page rank of the sites around it, but it's simply because of the authority of the site. That's the reason why it's there. It's kind of an implied page rank, or it's an implied authority based on the nature of the site. So it's just, all of this information is here to help you get a better feel for what's actually going on in Google's head, why they're ranking stuff. It's a hard thing to see from just one, so let's take a look at another one. And I'll take questions here in a second. I see them starting to roll off the screen. Let's look at protein diet. WebMD, again, we're looking at a page rank 7, but we're looking at a page rank 4 here, and on the second indent, we're actually looking at a page rank 0. This WebMD has got the entry because of the weight of this page, because of the page rank 4 on this page, and they're ranked at both as position number 1 and 2, interestingly enough. This particular theme has got 2 keywords in it. It's got a parent theme and a synonym, right? So high protein diet and high protein diets. So this page is number 1 for high protein diets, and it's position number 2 for high protein diet. This page is position number 2 for high protein diets and position number 3. So it's the indent on both of in both of these SERPs pages. It's the second indent for this particular page, which makes sense given the fact that this is protein diet and protein diets. It's just got the low-carb aspect of it in there. So that makes a certain degree of sense. You're not going to be able to come in here and knock this second page out just because you've got more page rank. This page is ranked here because it's closely associated with this page. Probably this page links to this page. And they're tied together because of the domain. So it's not like you can slide into position number 2 just because the page in position number 2 or position number 3, depending on which keyword you're looking at, is a page rank 0. Wikipedia holds the second true position, well, the first position for high protein diet, and position number 3 after this one for protein diets. It's at a page rank 4. This is at a page rank 4, this is at a page rank 4, this is at a page rank 5. Interestingly enough, Mayo Clinic. The reason this is going to be at a page rank 5, where these are at page rank 4s, are because there's something else going on here with their inbound links besides high-protein diets. So either their on-site thematic references or their inbound link thematic references are not as highly qualified as these two sites. That's the only reason why you would have a higher page rank at a lower place. It's not, when Google looks at it, Google's saying it's not targeting this particular idea as strongly as these two are. I have to say that today they've got all kinds of other factors. They've got social media factors, and I was just reading about that before the call, actually. The last Google change from last week, I've got some more information. I'll share it with you in a blog post in a couple of days as soon as I've assimilated it all. But there are all kinds of other factors that are also bearing on the ranking of a page besides inbound links and on-page thematic reference, such as social media factors, such as the freshness of the links, all of that kind of stuff. So it could be that there's more protein diet related traffic coming in from these than there is coming into this. Mayo Clinic versus Wikipedia versus WebMD, but my guess is still, when it comes down to, is probably a thematic reference somewhere along the lines. And so as I look down the page, we've got page rank 4, page rank 4, page rank 5, page rank 4, page rank 5, page rank 3, page rank 4, page rank 2, page rank 3. If I were going to say, if I wanted to come after this word or these words, that idea, you're going to need at least a page rank 3 to play on the front page, and you're going to need a high page rank 4 to get above the fold. Right, because you got a page rank 5 sitting in there. My guess is these are really strong page rank 4s. Page rank 4 is where you start to get quite differentiation from the beginning of page rank 4 to the end of page rank 4. Like page ranks 1, 2, and 3, they're all pretty small. The number of inbound links needed to jump from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 3 and even from 3 to 4 are fairly small. But when you get to 4, you start to have a fairly decent number of inbound links required before you jump to a 5. So these are probably going to be toward the higher end of 4, would be my guess. So that's how you read a white paper. Let me come back and take a look at some of these questions that I've seen. Does the white paper allow for download? You know, yes, eventually, somehow. The problem that we've got with trying to get it downloaded is just because the formatting is different, because we've got this information up here on domain-oriented and this information here that's page-related. And so trying to get some kind of an export that wasn't just an image has been interesting. We haven't really figured out a good way to do that, so that's why it's not there yet. We could probably come back and do it now just because the libraries have come a long way since the beginning. To build out a silo website, you recommend putting in your long-tail keywords, which is also your URL, and start from there to help structure your site. And that was a question, not a statement. To build a silo website, you recommend putting in your long-tail keyword. You know, actually, I mean, I haven't really gotten into building out a site at this point. What I'm talking about today is more like market research. And to do market research, I would start with the long tail, and I would probably jump right from the long tail up, start moving up the vertical to see what other concepts are associated with my market. So in other words, and I didn't get too much into that, but let me come back here for a second. This particular keyword is my parent theme. These are tangent concepts, closely related tangent concepts to my parent theme. And if I drill from high proteins diets, if I drill into one of these, like maybe protein diet, I would see even more tangent markets. And so I start there, I would move up there, I might even move all the way up to diet, just to see how much money out of the whole entire diet market, see how much money is running through. And that's back on the whole themes for the cluster. I look here to see, when I'm looking at the ORV, I look here to see, okay, in the diet market, there's, it's almost a $400 billion market, right? And so if I'm looking at carb diets, I'm looking at almost a quarter of that entire market. So this helps me, if I'm thinking of detox, then I'm looking at a fraction of that market, right? I'm looking at like less than a tenth of that market. And so it just helps me to kind of understand how much money is moving through the market, and within that entire market, how much money is actually in this particular market segment. The interesting thing about this screen too is that it doesn't count keywords multiple times. So in other words, if a keyword falls into diet, it's not going to count that keyword again in this well, actually it's not going to count the keyword in the tally over here. It will count it in this tally over here. So so anyway, this helps me to just kind of realize, is this aspect of my market, does it really have enough money running through it to make it worth my while? Are there other aspects in that market? Are there tangent ideas that might be more profitable? Can I combine 2 or 3 different tangent ideas to make my website better? In the beginning, I'm just kind of in a fact-finding, an information gathering and collection phase, and I let all of it just kind of perk in my head. Sometimes I walk away, grab a cup of coffee, I might even leave it for the entire night and sleep on it, and then come back the next day, look at my products again, look at the market again, and decide how I want to attack the website. And then once I've decided how I want to attack the website, that's when I start deciding what my keywords are going to be, what my URL is going to be, what my silos are going to be, that kind of thing. Do I still use the Krakken blueprint area? Actually, no. At the moment, I'm pretty blog-centric, and I tend to export all of my keywords out of Krakken and pull them over into Domain Web Studio and build it out that way. It's, you know, when we first designed Krakken, I wanted an automated push button, build me a website kind of a thing, which under certain circumstances I would still want, but I want that more for the WR2s and the WR3s. So that's where we're headed with Domain Web Studio. As Domain Web Studio comes into the next upgrade, which is going to be Network Empire, it's going to facilitate the building out of the other rings and make that more automated and more push button. But what I've really realized since we built Krakken is with my money sites, I have pretty good ideas by the time I'm done with the research mode what it is I want, and I really want to cherry pick all of my primary terms. I wouldn't mind if it went ahead and supplied my synonyms and supporting keywords for me, so that might be something that we incorporate in Network Empire, but I'm pretty picky about all of the primary terms, so I don't really use the Krakken blueprint so much. Do you still have a competing pages minimum, like 1 million, in order to create a Krakken blueprint? You know, no, that's not so much of a deal anymore. That was back before we had our LSI algorithms perfected, and we were using a much more crude co-occurrence methodology for trying to figure out what keywords were relevant, and it didn't bring back the diversity that Larry brings back. So at this juncture, you can take anything for a silo, I think. I haven't actually played with it too much, but you should be able to take much smaller terms and use them as silo keywords.
Hey, Sue, you're going to need to define that term, Larry.
Which one?
Larry. You just said Larry.
Oh. Larry is a TLKT term that combines LSI and Bayes into a single algorithm, and it's it's a proprietary methodology. This is actually Kelley's brainchild for determining a semantic relationship.
And if you guys would like to dig deeper, just visit themezoomglossary.com, and you can find Larry under the L's and Bayes under the B in the glossary.
Or you can attend our TLK2 webinar next week, and I'll really get into it there.
Or better yet, you can come to certification, and we'll break it down for days on end.
All right. Okay, so what have I not talked about? You can take a look at trends in here the same way as you can over, we talked about that, we did competitive analysis. I think we've covered everything. We've done, yeah, I only wanted to get into development today. I didn't really want to do the blueprint stuff. I'm not going to demo that today. So, and it's been almost 2 hours, so I think that, yes, world domination, you can smell it from here like a good hot cup of coffee.
And I just wanted to add on top of all of this, I really have a pretty good understanding of how everybody on this call thinks, more or less, at the various phases of your education, because I've been through the same process with Sue's brain and all of the developers that we work with. So some of the questions that I know come up are, when do I overthink it and when do I underthink it? When do I, and we have clearly laid that out for you. The difference is going to be on WR1 versus WR2. And part of the reason that Sue and I have created those amazing maps on themezoomglossary.com or OneWebRing to rule them all.com, some of the slide presentations, we've tried to provide some icons, is that the WR1, you do want to, when you're swallowing your market whole, you do want to overthink it. If you do not have your own products, guys, gals, do not overthink it. Okay? That's what I really want to make sure. Like, unless you're just going to school and you set aside money for a learning curve, and you really want to become a master with your clients, and there's a whole other thing. You're investing in your education. But if you do not have your own products and services, or else a very, very good deal cut, you're really good at business online, you don't want to start thinking in terms of swallowing your market whole right now if you don't have food to eat on your table next week. Okay, now most people don't do that. We deal primarily with experts and the rest. If you're wanting to, if you don't have your own product or a joint venture, then you want to move back into WR2 thinking. You want to have it as a hobby or as a parallel thing. In other words, don't quit your day job. If you have to make $1,000 by tomorrow morning, Krakken vertical WR1 market swallowing domination is not for you. I hope that is obvious to you. But we have had a few instances where that is not obvious to people. Okay? So the other thing I would say is today we are offering unique price point for those of us, those of you who understand how to integrate all this stuff. I highly recommend Krakken for those of you who are using Domain Mode Studio. And depending upon what it is that you're doing, that rule still applies. Domain Mode Studio, and again, I want to backtrack a little bit and say, it's completely fine to invest in your own empire, okay? So if you are building an empire and you don't have your products or services and you're planning on flipping a network and it's a conscious investment over a 12 to 24-month period, that's a different story. Then you can move forward with excellent tools, and you budgeted yourself for that. As Obama said last night, budgets reflect choices, right? So what are you investing in? And Sue and I have done nothing over the last couple of years except to, actually 5 years now, except to say invest in your own networks. Okay. So again, if you have any questions on that, don't hesitate to hit the help desk. We will, give you advice on what's appropriate for you. I will answer those questions so that Sue's not overwhelmed in those. And so, Sue, let's get into the prices and the special prices we're offering for our members. And for those of you who have taken the time out of your busy schedule to attend our webinar, we do want to offer you never before seen price on the Kraken. But the interesting thing is it actually is never before seen, because we don't, we've generally gotten what we've asked for in this tool, and its agencies understand the value, especially when they come to our training. So let's just jump into that. Sue, what's going on with that?
So in honor of Halloween month, I wanted to offer a really scary price. And this price is good for these 3 products.
Oh, no.
For the Was that too corny? I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
For the monthly suite, it's good for the 2 weeks, and it's good for the 3 days. We're going to give you 45% off of those 3. If you subscribe for the monthly suite, then obviously you'll get the 45% off on a recurring basis. Otherwise, you'll get these 2 as one-offs, although you can repeat it for this month if you want to. And I'm going to just ping this coupon code. You can enter the coupon right down here at the bottom when you go to sign up, and I will ping that coupon code to the entire audience right now. This is just for you guys who are here with us, and I'll let Russell decide how he's going to handle the marketing for that past this point. But
well, let's first of all, let's be clear. Let's give us the actual price, not the discount, because
well, okay. So if you're going to opt for the 3 days, then instead of paying $97, that's going to come out to somewhere right around $65. Probably $63 and some change or something like that.
Yeah, we need to give them the actual numbers.
And instead of $500, you're going to end up paying like $275 or something like that for 2 weeks. And instead of $1,000, it'll be $650. That's the only one that's really easy.
Yeah.
Throw in Russell's Skype, and it's a deal, huh?
Who said that? I don't think so.
And, so it's good for any of those 3 products, and it's good for this entire month, any purchase within this month. And is there anything else I need to elaborate on?
I think that's pretty much it. So just to make clear what domain they go to, they're going to go to
themezoom.com.
Why don't you just take them through the funnel there so they know?
Sure.
Exactly.
So
start from the beginning.
When you're here at themezoom.com, you can click on products, and from products you can come down here to get access to the ThemeZoom Revolution Suite. Yeah. And from there you can see what's available on each one of these, and you can pick the product that you want to buy. So the monthly recurring gives you access to 25 full silos. It gives you access to the white paper. It'll give you access to the last keyword tool. So I got to say, there's a real bargain for you guys who jump on this right now. And it also gives you access to Domain Web Studio.
Right, and also to be clear, which I wasn't sure this morning until Sue and I chatted, that is recurring. So when this deal is gone at the end of the month, you will still be paying that right. discounted rate as long as you keep the applications.
Exactly. And for the others, it's just Kraken. It's either 2-week pass or 3-day pass. And you get access to VOMA and the white pages. So everything that these 2 things are covering everything that we talked about today. And obviously the monthly recurring package covers a bit more.
And that's fantastic too. If you're not sure, you don't want a big investment on a monthly thing, and you just want to kick the tires and pull some value out of there, that is a really great way to go. And again, the stuff that I'm talking about, like WR2 and all that, we do have a course coming out. I also do coaching, and Sue backs me up on that coaching, which also goes through Network Empire. So these are things that you would contact the help desk directly if you're just really saying, hey, I have to have that, otherwise I'm not interested in the software. We'll look at that with you. And that also does help Sue and I decide which programs we're creating, because we don't always know until people start asking us. So.
Yeah. So just to be really clear on what the ThemeZoom Revolution Suite covers, because somebody just asked that question.
Okay. Right.
It does cover Kraken VOMA. It covers 25 of Kraken's blueprints, which we'll probably get into a little bit the next time we do a Kraken demo. It gives you access to the white paper that we talked about today. and it gives you access to the last keyword tool, and it gives you access to Domain Web Studio. And so that's why we called it the revolution. That was what we turned this product into when we acquired Domain Web Studio and started expanding what it was we were doing.
Yeah, I know that's quite an investment, but if you are an agency, that is the one that you want. You're just going to have to trust me on that one.
Absolutely.
I also have a confession. I didn't want to interrupt Sue previously. I still use the blueprint function of Kraken for certain kinds of, when I'm super lazy, like when I'm feeling really, really super lazy about a blog construct. It just helps me kind of get a general idea about what a conversation is. And, you know, I'm not really rolling them into the blogs. I'm right there with Sue, like we're doing the same thing pretty much. But there are some useful ways to make microsites, and, you know, for super lazy ways of kind of getting the conversational articles. They're still pretty cool. So it's something to toss in there that there are still times when I use it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea behind the blueprint is that you select those themes that you want to use as silos, and you just hit a button, and it goes out and it determines all of the articles for those silos, and it determines all of the supporting keywords, and for both the silo level articles as well as the supporting articles. So it does everything for you, and then it allows you to adjust everything. It picks out the things that it thinks are the best, but it provides you alternate options, and then you go in there and you finalize everything, and it creates an HTML version of your website for you.
Yeah, and for those of you using HTML still, it's an excellent option. Just consider it more of a decision tree. If you're not using Domain Web Studio, it's a great option for lazy blueprint creation, which I use for WR2s, you know, on certain kinds of models. And part of the reason we didn't flesh that out is because Sue was spending all of her time building a much larger model with Domain Web Studio. So we shifted all of our attention into Domain Web Studio, so having that all gives you more than one option as an agency. And there are people that are still using the blueprint functionality.
Absolutely.
So it depends on what you want. It doesn't have that blog plugin, the silo blog builder that DWS has. So.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. So there's the things that are coming, although I can't give you a timeline for it yet because I've got other stuff that's in process and has to get finished first before we can start on that. But where I want to take this is I want the Kraken blueprint to interface with the same blog plugin that we use for Domain Web Studio, and I want the Kraken blueprint to be able to be imported directly as a finalized silo framework in Domain Web Studio. So it's not like I'm just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's just I want to there are places that I want to move forward, and eventually everything gets all combined and recombined.
Which is
lessons learned along the way.
Exactly, which is the holy grail, because if you guys actually saw the size of the database that we're working with right now to provide fresh squeezed everything in a relational way across multiple softwares, it's really exciting, and you know, it just takes up some time to integrate it all. And you know, I'm really, really excited about this. So we hope to have you guys on board, and I'm also grateful that Sue has, you know, as our fearless CEO, has decided to give us, you know, everyone a break for this month. We'll see how that goes, and just go to themezoom.com and grab that coupon code. I guess you've listed that already, Sue.
Yeah, and if you guys can't see it for whatever reason, just ping us an email or put a thing into the help desk, and I'm happy to shoot it to you again. And I got a couple more questions. One is,
Okay,
if we're going to make a site and a blog, do you choose the same themes and keywords for both? And I'm a big fan of what we call theme mirroring, which is you've got the same concepts on your website as you do on your blog, and then those blog posts actually link back to your website.
Absolutely. And we should clarify too, Sue, your whole model of WR1. WR2, which again I'll be getting into more and more over the next couple months, you don't have to stay precise. You actually want to use that option to get into the long tails at the WR2 level. And I really do suggest that all of you, if you haven't gone to certification and you can, to come to certification where both of us actually really get into tag teaming those two things. If you can't, then do spend some time on the Theme Zoom glossary, where all of Sue's market domination web rings are present. I do flesh out a little bit of the WR2 stuff so that you know, you really do want to use your blog mirror to stay focused on the themes that you've researched so hard in Krakken, that you've researched at such an incredibly high level, higher than anyone out there probably is doing. So you want to go ahead and give yourself a backup plan, and then you can get inside the members area. SEO gets really clear about whether or not you should use a subdomain or all the pros and cons of all that stuff. And that's beyond the scope of today's conversation. But it is a very powerful method to theme mirror. And we talk about that. You can look up that term, theme mirroring, as well in the themezoomglossary.com. Okay.
Yeah. So we got one more question about how do I determine if Theme Revolution is right for me, or just using Domain Web Studio, not an agency, just building a single network. And I would say, like, my answer to that would be, how confident do you feel about what you know about your market? Like, do you understand the nuances behind your market? You've seen what I did here today with the diet market. The next time we do a demo, it'll be a different market.
And I would also recommend, Sue, that they consider strongly, whether they would need coaching along the way. For example, if they get coaching with us, then they could probably utilize the software at the same time. But again, this is why we do have our certification events. We also are beginning to work more towards a coaching package. But again, it depends. If you are, we don't know how long you've been online. We don't know how technical you are. There's no way for us to answer that question. So, again, this is why we have an intake form for our certification events, because we need to know everything about you before we can make that assessment. You see? So we've got literally like 50 questions. Even for my coaching students, I have them fill out 20 questions.
Exactly.
Which I'm able to assess. And if you're interested in the combination of the two, please do contact us. We'll help you determine what product is right for you. That's, of course, worth it for both of us, because we don't want you just to buy software and not be able to use it. We want you to be able to build the biggest, highest leverage, but more importantly, the most profitable network out there. And we do have to distinguish the difference between our software and our coaching and mentoring methods, obviously, as you guys have probably seen. It's impossible to put them both together, at least not completely. So we're doing the best to provide you with the most training that we can. But again, if it's an investment that you want to optimize, you may want to think about either certification events, which is just you, me, and Sue, one-on-one for a 9-day period, or a possible mentoring, recurring mentoring over the months, in which either Sue or myself or both of us, depending upon what you need, integrate and help set up your business with that. Again, that's dependent upon Sue's time, which is pretty thin, but it just really depends on what it is that you need. Okay. All right.
Okay. So for you guys who have questions, I just shot the email out, our help desk email out to everybody. Talk to us at namezoom.com, where it's the number 2. Mm-hmm. So feel free to give us a shout. Happy to talk to you. And let's see, there's a few other questions that have come in. Don, you asked about concurrent drill processing. Let's talk. And that's kind of a particular, some of the guys are on legacy prices, where I know we've tweaked the drill processing, the concurrent drill processing down.
So you can't bring down our server when you've got 900 drills happening simultaneously.
Exactly.
Right, Tora?
And what's the Jacques, send us an email about certification, and we're happy to talk to you.
Yes, please.
And Abe asked, would I recommend using Krakken for local leads Empire? Do I need it for local leads Empire?
That's a great question.
Dominate big cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. Yeah, as I said, Krakken is my go-to product.
Yeah, it's hard for us to answer that because we don't use anything else.
Yeah, you can get there. I mean, I've got if you look in that local business empire over there in the members area, I do show you how you can use TLKT to get there from here.
Yeah, and it works fine. I mean, if you have Krakken, do a drill into your city as well as TLKT. For us, and Sue, I think you would agree, we use the entire suite as kind of a Swiss Army knife approach. And I know that's, but we've also revealed to people how to use them independently. I feel like your TLKT, the educational course that you provided in both Local Leads Empire and localsearchempire.com provide enough data for someone on a budget to really be able to get a handle on local. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
But if you have Krakken, I recommend that you also use it in combination with TLKT to get a better overview of other tangent things. Sometimes I find tangent territories at a higher level using Krakken. So it really just depends on. I also like the import function on Krakken, where I import local keywords into Krakken to see which ones have the most value. You know, so those are things. Those are things that I do, but they're not required for you to dominate local areas.
And there is an import function on TLKT, and we'll demo that next week.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you can get there with both tools. It just depends. As I said, Krakken's a market analysis tool, and if you want to analyze the market more before you delve into the local aspect of it, then you want to use Krakken. If you've got a niche and you pretty much understand the niche, you know, if it's roofing and you know everything that there is to know about roofing and you understand the market, then TLKT will work fine for you.
Exactly. Well said. Does that make sense, Eve? I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so I think that's the end of the questions. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I really appreciate having the opportunity to chat with you guys today and show you my favorite of favorite tools and spend some time with you guys. And thank you so much, Russell, for being here with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your rather thinning schedule. So, folks, if you haven't made the DWS webinar, we will have one on the upcoming Wednesday and Thursday, and we look forward to seeing you on the inside.